Hello and welcome to 2020. Please allow me to be possibly the last person to welcome you to the decade because once again I'm a full month late with this. Sorry. Once again I'm going to start this with the disclaimer that these are my favourite paleontological discoveries of the year and not what one might think of as the most important. I actually had quite a lot of trouble searching this video because for medical reasons I don't remember a lot of 2019, so it was quite a lot of work to actually go back and find everything that I had read at the time but I'd just totally forgotten about. So hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have missed anything that you think should be on my list, that you think I would enjoy or you think is especially fantastic that happened last year, please leave a comment about it down below so everyone can see. So with that, I guess I'll start my rundown. Dromaeosaur sickle claw. In many areas of the internet I actually go by Deinonychus floof, so it's not really any surprise to anyone that the girl with the classic Deinonychus tattoo has her favourite dinosaur as Deinonychus. As such, I quite enjoyed this study on the function of the sickle claw of Deinonychus and other dromaeosaurs. In this study, computer modelling was used to rigorously test how this sickle claw would have been used after it's been shown for so many decades being used for disemboweling and latching onto prey and things like that. And they actually came to the conclusion that it wouldn't have been that powerful if Deinonychus used it whilst its leg was stuck out straight or anything other than in a very crouched position, leading the author to come to the conclusion that the claw was mostly used for holding down small prey, being used much as raptor birds do today to sort of hold down what they're eating and then pick off chunks. I particularly enjoyed this figure showing all the sort of different hypotheses that have been put forward in the literature for the use of this sickle claw, and I think it gives a fantastic overview of the history of study of Deinonychus, as well as just being a graphic that greatly brings me joy. The results of this study also are backed up with real fossil evidence, most notably in the famous fighting dinosaurs fossil, which shows a velociraptor and a protoceratops locked forever in combat, and indeed the velociraptor is in a very crouched posture, so maybe it's sort of jumped onto its prey, and the protoceratops is still big for a velociraptor, but it's still within reason of this hypothesis of using that to sort of puncture and grab onto prey. However, the paper also recognises the caveats in the method they have used and recommends further study to refine calculations that they have used, especially looking at the length of muscle fibres in archosaurs. Pushing back the date of parental care in amniotes. This was a super cute discovery towards the end of last year that is actually really important in pushing back the known sort of start date of parental care in amniotes on the branch of the tree of life that leads to us. An adult Varanopid, which as its name suggests looks pretty superficially like a varanid or monitor lizard that we get today, of the newly described species Dendromaea, was found wrapped around a juvenile of the same species inside a tree trunk. And this suggests that parental care in amniotes tetrapods started at least 306 million years ago. And it's also suggestive of potential denning behaviour, which is pretty neat. Before this, the most ancient instance of parental care was also in Varanopid, but it was about 45 million years more recent. So this is quite a leap and a big pushback for that date. Of course, it is possible that these two individuals were just together by chance or by necessity, but with another instance of parental care, at least two instances within this one group being shown, I think it's pretty convincing that this is really what it looks like, and that's pretty cool. Crocodiles like vegetables. Historically, or rather prehistorically, the relatives of modern crocodiles were much more diverse in their form and habitat, and some truly weird forms lived alongside the dinosaurs in the Mesozoic. This study finds that herbivorous Crocodyliforms evolved at least 3 separate times during this time period. In a quantitative analysis, the complexity of tooth shape was also managed to be linked with increasing herbivory in a species. Niche partitioning, the filling of separate roles in an ecosystem by different species that are at the most basic level doing the same thing would have helped reduce competition between herbivorous crocodilians, Crocodyliforms, and things like synapsids during this time. Sticking with herbivory, we have the repeated evolution of herbivory in dinosaurs. Like in the Crocodyliforms, herbivory has arisen multiple times within the dinosaur tree, from the ornithischians to the therizinosaurs and ornithomimids. A new study has found that as a group of animals becomes more herbivorous, they will convergently evolve traits that are similar to other herbivores. To expand upon that, there's a couple of main ways to be a herbivore, and those are to increase the size of the jaw muscles and process food through mastication, or by simply swallowing it whole and letting a muscular gizzard or stomach do the chopping for you. This study finds that ankylosaurs, ceratopsians, hadrosaurs, the ornithischians really, were convergent upon the first method, whereas things in Saurischia like sauropods, therizinosaurs, they were much more likely or exclusively went after the second method. Interestingly, this study considers not only how this convergence has happened through the environment and the niche these dinosaurs are filling, but also how it has been constrained by the bow plan that these dinosaurs started with by their ancestry. They have a similar lifestyle, but the way they achieve that lifestyle is sort of constrained by the place they started from, as is shown in the ornithischians going from one chewing method and the Saurischhians going for the I will just swallow it whole and hope that it comes out okay method. Tiny dinosaur tracks, the second. This is pretty similar to a paper that made my list last year, and indeed the study actually shares its authors, but it's not the size of the tracks this time that makes them special, though again they are very cute and very tiny, but it's more the actual quality of the preservation that makes these just incredible. This is the first record of non-avian dinosaur tracks that preserve the impression of skin across the entire track surface, and you can just see how perfect the little polygonal scales are. The preservation potential of the substrate that allowed these tracks to be preserved in such exquisite detail is so absolutely nuts that not only did they find the perfect tracks, but they also managed to recognise where rain droplets had hit the ground as these tiny little dinosaurs were walking across this shallow mud. Bajadasaurus. I'm going to level with you, I don't know whether to pronounce this Bajadasaurus or Bajadasaurus, but I think Bajadasaurus sounds better personally, so I'm going to go for that throughout this. It comes the time again when we must ask ourselves, what are dromaeosaurids? Yes, it is paleontology's latest punk rock Mohican sporting sauropod, Bajadasaurus. This sauropod is known from pretty incomplete remains, but to be honest, when you compare it to the material that a lot of sauropods have been named from, this may as well just be a complete animal. It's not. It's like some cervicals and bits of the skull and the neck. But it might as well be. The cool thing about this dinosaur is the row of neck spines that would have sort of faced forwards, unlike its close relative Amargasaurus where they face backwards, and the authors have suggested that this has implications for defence mechanisms in sauropods, with these being used as defence. Of course there are other theories that these may just be simply display structures for attracting a mate, signalling, that sort of thing, but in this study they are looked at as defensive, being very useful in warding off predators, making it look a bit bigger, as if you needed to be bigger as a sauropod, or just protecting the vulnerable neck. Another good thing about this dinosaur is that its name kind of sounds like Badassosaurus, and I can respect that. Honourable mentions this year go to a new scansoriopterygid with membranous wings, which proves that Yichi was not a fluke. The long-awaited description of the Lorry specimen providing more insight into the evolution of those dinosaurs closest to birds, especially in North America. A study asking us to question, why are there so many species of sauropod in the Morrison? And should there be that many species based on what we now know about the ontogeny of dinosaurs, amongst other factors? Not a paper as of yet, but this super cool hadrosaur hoof that was put out on the internet, and I'm really looking forward to when it is actually described, and this will tell us a lot more about what on earth was going on with hadrosaur hands. And trilobites queuing like they are British and are waiting for literally anything.
I'm British. I know how to queue.
I mean, it's in the paper as like a migration thing, but whatever. And with that, my list for the year is done. If I missed out something that is in your favourite paleontological discoveries or research or whatever, then please leave a comment down below to complain about it and tell me that I need to do better this year, because I need to do better this year. I've already started keeping a list of things, which I should have done last year, because my brain stopped working and I forgot everything. If that happens this year, I actually have a record of cool stuff that's going on, as I really should have done anyway. I hope you have a wonderful 2020, and I hope that it's a good year for paleontology, and I will see you in the next one.